Hi, everybody. Happy Wealthy Winning Wednesday. All righty. Everybody, we're getting ready to start our first mastermind session on starting your own brokerage with a bang. And today's topic is going to be your vision and mission statement coupled with your exit strategy. So the beginning and the end and everything in between. So good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. And today's topic, Mastermind for Brokers, is start your own brokerage. And today is step 1. Start with your vision statement at the beginning, your exit strategy at the end, and how do we put those two together. So that's going to be our topic today. Thanks for tuning in. Great. All right, everybody ready to get started? Who's excited about their 2019 year? Woohoo! And you don't start 2019 in 2019. You have to start it in 2018. And of course, we're now in the fourth quarter of 2018, getting ready to plan and kick off our successful 2019. Right? Who's with me? All righty. Today, along with our slide presentation, we also have for you some activities. We have a couple of free gifts we're going to give out, some tips, websites, and great information at the end as we get prepared for next week's topic, which will be building your business plan. So I sort of think of your brokerage as your empire, right? You're building a huge building. Where do you start? You don't just get a hammer and nails and start, hammering something. You start at the beginning with a blueprint. But before you have the blueprint, you need to know where you're going with the blueprint. You need to have it in your mind of what the blueprint's going to look like and what your vision is and what the building's going to look like at the end. So before you even do the blueprint, which is next week, you have to start with your vision. And that's what today is all about. So, all right. Good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. So today is start your brokerage. Step 1, your vision statement and your exit strategy. Yes, it sounds weird because we're at the beginning and we're at the end, but that's where we need to start, is start at the end to have a great beginning. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us with MBA Broker Consultants and our Mastermind for Brokers. All righty. So we talked about starting your own brokerage, right? You need to have blueprints to build your empire profitably. And today we're going to talk about how do you get to the blueprints? What do you do when you want to have a blueprint? You need to meet with your architect, your designer, your contractor. But before you meet with them, you have to have a vision in your mind, know where you're going, and know what the end product is going to look like. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So welcome, everybody. Happy Wealthy Winning Wednesday. Woohoo! Who's excited about today? Part of what we talk about are going to be Fortune 500 concepts. Why is that? Because Fortune 500 corporations are obviously very successful. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for many, many years. So we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to follow a lot of those concepts. And yes, we could easily go get an MBA degree for $50,000 and learn all of the Fortune 500 concepts. But today, I'm just going to distill down for you the most important parts, pull those out so you don't have to spend all the hours, all the time, all the money to go get an MBA degree. You can take all those Fortune 500 concepts and apply them to your business now. So who's ready to get started? All right, we have a poll for you. Our poll is, what is your status today? So go ahead and take the poll. The questions are, number 1, are you a current real estate brokerage owner or manager? Number 2, do you have a broker's license, but you haven't yet hired any agents? Or number 3, are you an aspiring broker's licensee? In other words, you don't yet have your broker's license, but you do have plans to open your own brokerage. Or maybe you have an agent's license and you're a part owner of a brokerage and thinking about getting your broker's license. By the way, if you are thinking of getting your broker's license and you don't yet have it, contact me, because I do have some great resources I can plug you into, no matter which state you're in the U.S., all 50 states. I can give you some great resources to get you started. Some of the courses you can take online, some of them you can take in person, some have live online courses. So if you're thinking about that, I can definitely give you some guidance on that. Next, many of you know me already, and if you do, that's great. But if you don't, MBA Broker Consultants is a company I started last year when I was getting my MBA degree from Azusa Pacific University. I had just finished my BA degree in real estate from Ashford University, the Forbes School of Business there, and went right on into my MBA degree. The reason is because I had my broker's license for a long time, and I had a brokerage business, but I really didn't know the concepts that I needed to know, and I really wanted to learn them so I could take myself and my business to the next level. And after I got in the MBA program, I said, this is so awesome. My real estate brokerage friends and colleagues are going to love this. I've got to share it with them. So that's when I started my company. And we decided our theme was going to be, don't play the game, change it. So today's mastermind is the first of 12 steps. So we do have some handouts today. Be sure and get a pencil and paper, take notes, write down your action plan. A little bit about me. I think I already covered that, but I did write some books, and I am very passionate about our industry, as you can see. So step one, your vision. What is your master design? When you're building an empire, you start with the design. The design is first in your mind. It's your vision. What do you want to offer? And by the way, you probably don't have a clear vision just yet. Why? Because that vision forms as you go along. So the more you learn, the more you discover, the more information and data you have, the more you experiment, and your experience shows that you need to change a little bit. So it's okay to be open and flexible and for your design to change. So let's get started here. So what we're going to cover today is your exit plan, vision, mission, and values. We're going to cover the type of company you want to have, whether you want to have it owned solely or partners. Do you want to have a corporation or a DBA? And then we're going to set you up for the business plan, which is next week. Okay, I'm going to go back to the chat just so in case anybody has any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat and I'll check that as we go along. So how do you want to build your empire? On a solid foundation, right? There's nothing worse than building a big building that you didn't plan correctly and then the building collapses. So we really want to start off with that solid foundation. So what is the goal of a for-profit organization? A real estate brokerage is obviously for-profit. So our first goal, of course, is to generate profit for the stockholders. Now, if you have a corporation, you do have stockholders and they want to see a return on the funds they've invested into the company. Now, if you don't have a corporation, if it's just yourself or yourself plus a spouse or maybe partners, then you don't have stockholders and you don't necessarily want to generate them a profit, but you still want to earn a profit for the owners, which is probably yourself, right? If you're a small mom and pop shop brokerage or if you have partners. So your second goal is to provide needed goods and services to the consumers. Now that really goes hand in hand because you really honestly can't generate a profit if you don't have something to sell that people want and need. So those definitely go hand in hand. And number three is an organization wants to offer secure employment. Now you're going to be hiring real estate agents for the most part. You'll probably also have some staff people, but real estate agents, I wouldn't really call that secure employment for most of us because they are on a, commission split. They get paid for results. when they have a closing, and that's pretty much it for most agents. So maybe not secure employment, but maybe a good opportunity, right? That's what they all want, is a good opportunity. And last but not least, do good. That's what I called it. Be mindful of your environment, contribute to the community, and always be doing the best. And by doing that, you can help others, help your community, and leave a good legacy. Now let's compare a little bit a for-profit organization to a nonprofit organization, because sometimes I hear people say, well, I got in real estate because I love helping people, which is great. And that is very, very important, to help people and to have an attitude of customer service. But if we're not making a profit, that makes us a nonprofit company, and all we're doing is good things, and then we're not paying our bills. So we do need to keep that in mind, that we are a for-profit organization and we do need to help people, but all of our decisions need to be made from the mindset of, what does this add to my company? How will this help us earn a profit, right? So when you make business decisions, a lot of it is about math. It's about laying out different choices and seeing which one gives you the best ROI, return on your investment. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind as we talk about for-profit companies. What defines business success? We just talked about it a minute ago, but we're going to go to another poll now. What defines business success? Okay, so the answers are: number 1, profit; number 2, people; and number 3, legacy. So go ahead and answer that. Number 1 is if you think business success is based primarily on profit, how much money you earn. If you think business success is based on number 2, people, how many people you help. Now that would include your real estate agents as well as clients, buyers, and sellers. So that would be the people. And number 3 is your legacy. So legacy is a little more intangible. It's what you're going to leave after you're gone. In other words, how did you help your community, or how did you better the lives overall of people? So those are a couple of the things there that you're going to want to take a look at. And by the way, there is no right answer, because these are all important. And there does need to be a balance between profit, people, and the legacy that you leave. Nobody has one right answer, because your right answer is different than somebody else's. So it depends on you, and this helps you decide on what you want your vision to be. So let's talk about those measurements of success. First of all is profit. How much profit do you want to earn? Well, who's it with me for $1 million, $2 million, $10 million? First of all, is that realistic with your business plan? Is your business plan set up to make that? And secondly, what if you're not making enough money? How do you know how much is the minimum you need to make? That's quite an interesting question. So let's look at this 2 ways. First of all, if you were to not be a real estate brokerage owner, and you were to go take the skills and the talents, your degrees, your knowledge that you have, and you were to go get a job somewhere else that paid you a salary with benefits, what would be the total compensation package? So if you could go get a job right now that paid you $60,000 plus full benefits, perhaps worth $10,000, that would be $70,000, right? So are you going to be able to earn at least that much from having your brokerage? If not, maybe it's time to take a second look at either, revamping your brokerage, or number 2, doing something else, right? Because you want to be able to at least earn as much or more than if you had a job. The second thing we need to look at is, could you replace your CEO's salary with a job? So as a CEO of your real estate brokerage, could you put somebody else into that place and have them earning a salary and you're still earning a profit? And that is probably not where you're at right now, but I want you to start thinking about that as an eventual goal, in that you want to be able to replace yourself with a CEO, and you should, as the owner, be able to step back and still earn a profit. Okay? So think about those as we go along. Number 2, we talked about the impact that you're leaving. What kind of services are you providing to end clients? And when I say end clients, those can be your buyers and sellers. But buyers and sellers, let's talk about them. How do you know if you're making an impact? Number 1, the number of people you've served, right? How many closings you've had, how many closing sides each year, each quarter, each month. And number 2, their satisfaction level. Now, I know that's a touchy topic because many of us do not poll or survey our past buyers and sellers and find out their level of satisfaction on various levels. And that's something really important to do, and we will be talking about that in this series. Okay? But client satisfaction level is measurable. It's something that, this is one of those Fortune 500 tips. It's something that should be done regularly, and the metrics should be compared against benchmarks. Otherwise, how do you know if you're making a difference, right? Number 3 is a leadership reach, which is your influence that you have on your agents. Are your agents satisfied? Are they successful by whatever their definition of success is? And how do you even know that? Well, first of all, you can look at the number of agents coming in versus the number of agents leaving your company, right? That's a small measure. But do you have interviews when you hire them? Do you have regular reviews with them where they're ranked or rated, or where they rank and rate your company so you know how your brokerage is doing and you get that feedback? What is that saying? Feedback is the breakfast of champions. Okay. How do you know if they're successful other than when they leave, right? So do you have metrics for agents, their closings, and if they have met their goals that they've set for themselves? So that's important to measure as well. And lastly is community contribution. I think that's a little bit harder to measure, but it's definitely doable. So let's go back over to our chat here. How would you measure community contribution? Does anybody have any thoughts on that? How do you know if you're making a difference in your community? How do you know if you're going to be able to leave a legacy? Think a little bit about that. How do you measure the difference that you're making and leave that legacy that you're thinking of? Okay, next. How do we calculate the value of a business? This is a little bit of a tough topic. I call it kind of the tough love topic, because real estate brokerages, most of us are very small. We have 1, 2, maybe 3 agents. And guess who's bringing in most of the profit and closing most of the sales and the gross revenue? It's us as the brokerage owner. Well, if that's the case, your business is not really valuable. It doesn't have a worth, because if somebody were to come and buy your business, what would they be buying? They can't be buying your services because you're retiring and selling a business. So let's think about how we would calculate the value of a business. All right, so this is why we're going to begin with the end in mind, because a lot of us became brokers, let's face it, because we were super salespeople at our office. We made a lot of money for our broker, and we were a top producer. And then we decided, you know what? I want to go on my own. I want to have my own brokerage. And why should I give my broker a cut? I can get my broker's license and I can keep 100% for myself. So a lot of us did that. And then we found out, we had a little reality check. And we found out that, guess what? It takes money to run a business. It takes money to operate a business. And not only that, but now we have overhead, we have liability, and it's all revolving around us. And we need to delegate a little bit. We need to hire agents, and that requires supervision. So there's a lot of things that go into running a brokerage. It's not just being a super salesperson, on steroids, running out and selling even more. We have to step back and look at the business operations overall. Okay. Oh, Rob Aubrey. Thank you, Rob, for contributing. I think you're an awesome broker. Featured you in our business report, and I value what you said. You said, if you are the main profit for your business, then you own a job, not a business, right? And all of us know what job stands for. J-O-B, just over broke. So exactly, Rob. And Veronica says, helping educate people on investing in their future with real estate, educating on financial management and planning for retirement, or educate on how credit works. And that's contribution to community. I say, wonderful, Veronica. That's really awesome. And that is what I believe as well. Because in the end, what did we do that we can leave that carries on into our community, right? So that's great. So how do we begin with the end? Well, we start by building a profitable corporation, and then we want to sell for top dollar. And, our eventual goal is retire, sit on the beaches in Hawaii, be a shareholder, and maybe still have passive income in the company. Maybe we didn't sell the whole thing, or maybe we sold it but still have shares in the company. So that would really be the ideal end. That would be the empire that we've built continuing to pay us off so that we can have our own retirement mansion somewhere. That might not always be possible depending on the business we've set up. And that's why we're going to look at how do we start with where we want to be and get there? What are the steps we need to get there, right? So start with the dream and then build the steps to get to the dream. Because if you just have the dream of having a big business and making $1 million, but you have no practical way to get there, right? It's just a dream. It's not reality. It's just something that you can never execute on and never receive any benefits from. So if you take your daydream and you have goals and steps and a way to get to that goal, then guess what? Now you have something tangible that you've created. Okay. So what is an exit strategy, right? We're going to begin at the end. So picture yourself maybe 20 years from now, and you have a successful, thriving brokerage. Maybe you have 5 offices. Maybe you're in multiple states and you're ready to retire. Hawaii is calling your name. You can't wait to sit on the beach all day and not answer your phone, 24 hours a day. So what does that look like for you? So a few different ways that you can exit your business. The first is, as we mentioned earlier, is to sell. To sell to somebody else who wants to take over your business. It could be a merger. It could be an acquisition. It could be where it's folded into another larger company that's eyeing your success. A lot of us in real estate, however, we have family working with us, right? We have our children, our spouses, our parents, our siblings, and sometimes we're training them to take over the business, which is a very honorable goal. So we might have heirs that we're, preparing to be able to train. We're mentoring them and molding and shaping them to be able to run the business later. And some of us might just want to close our business at the end, right? And unfortunately, you're probably not going to receive much value for that. You might be able to receive some referral fees for some past clients, but everything you've worked for, if you just close your business, then you're probably not going to get much value for what you've put into it. So really the goal is to maybe sell or have heirs be able to take it over. Now, if you don't have a plan or an exit strategy, guess which one of these it is? Well, it's probably just closing without any value, right? So that's why we're purposefully thinking of this and going through this. So this is, again, another Fortune 500 strategy. What is your value based on profit? What is the value of the company based on the earnings? Now, how many of us watch Shark Tank? what do they look at? They look at the value of the business based on its profit, not revenue, not how many sales you made, but profit, the bottom line. And they're going to multiply that profit out times 3, 4, or 5 years, and that's the value of your business. So if you're barely breaking even, there's no profit, your business is not worth anything to sell, because who wants to buy something that's not making money? They want to buy something that's providing an income. What about broker production? We just said the value of the business needs to have the broker production subtracted. So if your business maybe has a profit of $50,000 a year, woohoo, you're so excited. But then you go look at it and you see that $45,000 of the profit came from your sales as the brokerage owner. That leaves only $5,000 came from your agents. Then it makes you wonder, is it really worth it coming to work every day and doing all this that we do in supervising agents if really they're not contributing enough to be able to, keep the doors open and make it worth my time and my profit? Maybe it'd be easier for me to just step back and just work by myself, work from home, and, keep all my profits. So that's a decision you have to make. But today we're here to show you how to build a business that you can rely on, have other people contributing to your income. So your goal is to eventually phase out, step yourself out, so you can hire a CEO and then eventually retire. Okay. So that leads to stockholder value and the value of the stock, which is based on the profitability of the business. And some of us might have stock that we've invested, or we might go to the, look at the stock market. And when you look at that, what is it based on? It's based on the returns. The returns are based on profit. So it all comes down to not the revenue, but the bottom line, the net profit. Okay. Any questions? Go ahead and put them in there. We're going to keep going here. So what is your exit plan? So we have a little activity for you. Print it out, fill it out later, not too much later, because if you wait till too much later, you'll probably forget about it. So, maybe later today or during this week before our next session next week. So in that activity, you're going to see the first activity is called Exit Plan. And the 4 questions that you would ask yourself are, A, what date do I want to retire? How many years from the business establishment? So if I'm starting my business today, if I have a 20-year plan, is that a good time to retire? Right? If I'm 60 years old, maybe I don't want to retire at 80. Maybe I only want to have a 10-year plan. If I'm 30 years old, maybe I want to have more like 30-year plan. So what date do you want to retire and how many years? B is, what will the corporation sell for? In other words, how much value has been created by this company I've built, and what are the annual profits that would justify somebody buying my business? Okay, so that's B. C is, what will be included in the business? In other words, what's the business model? And when somebody's going to be buying it, what are they buying? Do I own my building? Right? Do I have equipment in there? Is my business plan something that's not just profitable, but looks towards the future of where the future is going with technology? Right? Do we have the best and the brightest agents being attracted like clockwork to our company? And number D is, who would buy your corporation? What entity would merge with you or acquire it, buy you out? So think about that a little bit. Are you thinking that maybe a local franchise that's expanding would be interested in acquiring your offices? Are you thinking that maybe one of your agents or a group of your very successful agents would be interested in getting together and buying out the company? So think about that a little bit. Okay, so that will really help you form your beginning game by looking at your end game. Okay, so I'm going to flip back and see if there's any questions. So any questions, please go ahead and plug them in there. I don't see any, so hopefully everybody's busy looking at their exit plan, getting their notebook out and making some notes here, and let's keep going. Okay, next, envision your ideal company. What does that look like? Are you going to have a franchise? Or are you going to be independent? Are you going to be a sole proprietor? Or will you have partners? Will you have a corporation or a DBA, which is your fictitious business name? So those are all decisions that you need to make. There's pros and cons about each of these, and none of them are exactly the right answer for every person. So you need to discover what is your custom fit. Now, a little note on that. Many of us want to have corporations, but we're not quite ready yet. And it's okay to start as a single sole owner broker and just have a DBA and start with your own company, and then later on expand to a corporation. Okay, so that's something to think about. Also, when you have partners, there's a very big implication with that, because number one, you're not in control anymore. Everything has to be approved as a group decision. So think about that, especially if you have friends that you want to partner with, and think about, that could go right and it could go wrong. I know we've seen a few of those shows on the Profit where there were partners and things didn't go right, and now they're not partners and they're not friends anymore either. So think about that. Now, regarding a franchise, I know franchises are not right for everybody, but I will say I love the concept of a franchise. When you're just starting out, you just got your broker's license and you don't know what to do, a franchise can help give you direction. Why? Because they've been there, they've done that, and they have the plan and the process already outlined for you. So a franchise is a great way to get started. Will it cost you more? Yes, but it can help you get a jump start, and you can get there quicker than if you start independent. So don't discount the value of a franchise. I think it's a good option to look at. Okay, let's talk a little bit about growth now. What size company do you want to grow to? In other words, how many agents do you want to have? How many offices? What city or state do you want them to be in? Okay, what type of revenue? And your business model, we're talking mostly about residential sales, but you're probably going to add some other things in there, which we're going to talk about in future sessions. But property management, right? Because you want to have that recurring income every month and not be relying on the up and down of sales. There's a lot of ways to grow your company. You need to think about what's right for you, and what's right for you now might not be right in the future. So you might have, say, for now we're going to have 2 offices, but in the future we're going to have 3 states, each of them have 3 offices. Think about now and later. And then we get to our most important building block, which is our vision, mission, and values. We're going to touch on that in just a minute. Okay. And by the way, those are in your handout that you already have. So if you're going to be a sole proprietor, do you need a DBA, a fictitious business statement filed at your local county? You don't have to if you just do business as your name. But if you're building an empire, it's not about you. It's not about your name. So think about the business overall. What about a partnership? Husband and wife can be a partnership. How would that work? Would that make your marriage stronger, or would it make it less reliable? Would you be mad at each other, arguing with each other all day about every business decision? Even if you start off that way, I would say most likely you will come to a happy medium and you will learn each other's strengths. So it could be a good way to learn about each other and strengthen your marriage, but it's not right for everybody. And I can say that after working with my husband in business for many, many years, is now we sort of know each other's strengths and we work together really well, because he has strengths in one area, I have strengths in the other area, and we each know the part that we need to play. An LLC, a limited liability company. For those of us in California and some other states, having a real estate brokerage as an LLC is not an option. For example, in California, you cannot have an LLC. You can have a sole proprietorship, partnership, or corporation, but not an LLC. So you need to check and see if that is allowed by your state before you decide on that as an option. And I don't know the reason why, but I can only guess because it says it's limited, and the state of California does not want you to be limited. They want you to be fully responsible. All right, so for a corporation, there's a C Corp or an S Corp. Most of us are going to start out with an S Corp, which flows through to our personal income taxes. And then once we get revenue built up, we get millions of dollars in sales, then we'll probably change to a C Corp. But again, I cannot make those decisions for you. I cannot advise you. Please ask your CPA. Please ask your attorney, and I'm going to give you some resources for that in just a minute. Okay, awesome. So Rob says, I've been taught and confirmed by many advisors, your income should go through an S Corp, your investment property should be an LLC, and your personal home should be in a trust. Very, very good advice. Thank you for that, Rob. Definitely need to separate your personal assets from the business. Another good reason not to have it just under your name. And if you choose to have a property management business, I strongly recommend you have a separate corporation for property management. Why? Because property management is very litigious. It's very prone to lawsuits, and you get bad reviews from flaky tenants, and you don't want that impacting your real estate business or other assets you own. And then also your investment property should be in an LLC, says Rob, which I agree with. That is a good point. If you own investment properties, you probably don't want them part of your brokerage. You want each thing to stand individually on its own for purposes of lowering your risk and liability. Great suggestions, Rob. We're going to keep going here. This is a little chart from, and I recommend you contact Attorneys Corp Service if you'd like to get your documents, your corporate documents started. This is a little chart about sole proprietor, the benefits, the risks, and different notes about it. We just talked about all these: LLC, S Corporation, C Corporation. One thing about a corporation is you will need to have your board of directors. You will need to issue stock. It's not as difficult as you think, but one thing you do want to think about is your risk. As you can see here, how do you reduce risk, transfer it, avoid, and accept it with limitations? So it's all about minimizing your risk. Okay, so here's a few great resources for you for corporations. The first one is called Attorneys Corporation Service, Inc. They're on the web as attorneyscorpservice.com. What I love about them is they can help you file your corporation, help you file your LLC in most any state, and they can also help you with same-day filings. And the best part is you get the nice package, you get the nice book with all the corporate articles, you get a blank forms and everything ready to go. The software that you can download, you can just fill it in and you're good to go. Of course, you probably still need some legal advice, which I do recommend. So down here you can see I recommend Legal Shield, which is a great resource. It has been for me for 10 years. I have the business plan. We have attorneys on call. I call them, ask them questions about my business. They answer. It costs me nothing. I pay a small monthly subscription fee. It's really awesome. And the other resource I recommend is an online video from the Tax and Legal Library, which I'll be sending everybody follow-up so you can take a look at that, from an attorney who does a really great job explaining the differences between corporations, DBAs, sole proprietorship, partnership, LLCs, and that type of thing. Anyway, great resources for you there. Now let's talk about the process of building. When you're building, you're creating synergy because you're levering what I call the 3 S's: your strengths, your skills, and the systems. And I can't overstate enough the value of a system. System stands for save yourself time, energy, money. Some people call it save yourself stress, time, energy, money. Because a system will automate 80% of your processes. You can only need to focus on the remaining, 20% or hopefully less that you have to handle individually. So there's great value in building a system. And as you know, when you're building an empire, you have to have systems in place. You have to have processes, procedures, and you can't just wing it and decide today we're going to do this and tomorrow we're going to do that. And we don't know where we're going, because people are looking to you for that guidance, that direction, those boundaries, and they're trusting you. You have strengths already. You're developing your skills, and you're going to put systems in place, and that's how you create synergy. So we have another little activity for you now. Mission, vision, and values. Go ahead and take a look at the handout you should have already downloaded. It's called Mastermind Activities 1. So if you go to page 2, it says activity, mission, vision, and values. I like to start with the mission. The mission is, what does my company do? The vision is, where are we going to be in the future? And the values are, how do we get there with our values? So our values are sort of like our compass. Again, it's not your goals, but we're going to go over that in just a minute. So go ahead and take a look at that. You can start typing it in, writing it in, filling it out as we go. Okay, so I call this the achievement pyramid. So at the bottom, we see your vision, your mission, and your values. Those are the cornerstone of your company. And if you don't have that yet and you've already been in business, I would suggest going ahead and creating those now. Pull your team together, brainstorm. It's not going to happen overnight, but work on it a little bit every day. And I challenge you to have that finished by our session next week. Okay, so your vision, your mission, and your values. Again, your vision is where you're going to be in the future, right? So an example vision is, in 20 years, we will be the premier real estate brokerage in our city with 5 offices. And that could be your vision statement. Now, when you put it on your website, you're probably going to take off the in 20 years, but you can say, we are the premier real estate brokerage offering XYZ services in our city. Okay. Number 2 is in this pyramid that you see is your mission statement. So your mission is what we do. And I think for real estate brokerages, we sort of have 2 types of missions. One is internally with our real estate agents, and then another is externally with the public, consumers, and our clients, who are actually our clients of our clients, right? So if you think of our real estate agents as our clients, and their clients are buyers and sellers. So your mission statement, which is how they see you internally and externally, and then your values. And I know we did a values activity in another class I taught, and sometimes it's sort of hard to brainstorm that. So I do have a tip for you. Let's see what we have here. Whoops. So if we go to our file sharing, okay, we're going to go to, all right, I'm going to stop sharing the one for the activities. I think everybody's already downloaded that one. We're going to now share a new one called Core Values Sample. So go ahead and take a look at the file sharing. There should be something there called Core Values Sample. And it's really great because it has a lot of ideas that are taken from other successful companies. And you can decide and look at it and decide which values are best for your company, what things that you like that you would most likely think would represent you and the legacy that you want to leave. And I know it's really hard to pick only a few because there are so many on the list. There's maybe 100 different values on there. But circle 3 or 4 that you think represent your company. And by the way, your values are not just what you want to see in your company. They are what is already embedded in your culture. So, for example, you might say, well, one of our values is integrity and honesty, and that's what we believe in. And you might have that as your company value, but you have agents who are dishonest and don't have integrity. So if you're saying that's your value, but in reality your practice is showing otherwise because you know about the bad agents and you haven't terminated them, then guess what? The values are what's really in practice. It's not what you tell people it is. It's what they see and how they perceive it. So if the values that you want to see in your company aren't already embedded in the culture, that's something you really want to work on. And we're going to talk about that in upcoming sessions when we talk about agents and culture and, in our office and things like that. So that should get you started, okay, on the achievement pyramid. We also see on the achievement pyramid your goals and objectives, and your best business practices are resting on the vision, mission, and values, and then your service leadership is on top of that. Okay. All right, so we're going to switch gears a little now. We're going to talk about your business model. What is your business model? Now you have your exit plan. You have your values, your vision. And how do you go about crafting your business? Or you already have a business. What do you see in the future? How you can sort of renovate your building, renovate your business, right? Maybe you already have something built and you want to switch gears and you want to stop building that one and build a new empire, right? One that's bigger and better and that you like more. So how do we go about doing that, right? So there's 3 different ways, and we're going to talk about these more in upcoming weeks. But one is your strategy. And my favorite book on that is Blue Ocean Strategy. So if you don't already have it yet, I have a list of books. We'll share those towards the end. The next is to differentiate yourself. Make yourself unique from your competition. Not differentiate in a bad way of people saying, oh, that's a weird company, but differentiate yourself in a good way that they see you as maybe proactive, progressive. You're doing something different that people really love, consumers love, that nobody else has thought of, right? And that's part of the Blue Ocean Strategy. We'll talk about that towards the very end. I'll give you a little information about Blue Ocean Strategy, but it's really a process where you go through and you purposefully brainstorm what you want to see in your business, and you basically reinvent your business. That's Blue Ocean Strategy. Okay. And then also your business plan, which we're going to take an in-depth look at next week. So let's keep going on the activity sheet that you already downloaded. If you want to jump over to page 3, that's your business goals. Okay, so just take a few minutes, fill that in. The first one says, for my business goals, how much profit am I going to earn? And can I replace my CEO salary with a job? We talked about that at the very beginning, how to value your role as a CEO and how to earn enough profit from the business that you can eventually hire a CEO. Number 2 is the impact. What services do you provide to end clients? And number of people served, satisfaction levels. And number 3, your leadership reach with the agent influence. Are you successful with your agents? Are they successful with what they consider to be their success of where they want to be with their goals? And are they satisfied? And how do you know that, right, without measuring that? And number 4 is community contribution, and how do you measure that? And Veronica gave us a great statement. So you can just take a minute, fill that out, or just start it and finish it later. It's something that might require a little bit of thought. Okay. So Rob says, I love the expression, it's not what I can do, it's what I can duplicate, which goes back to the systems. Do you have systems that are easily duplicated? In other words, you have processes and procedures for everything, and people don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So I love that. Thanks for that, Rob. Okay, wonderful. Next is read or listen to the books. So here I have for you the top 10 books that I'm going to recommend. And let's see, I'm going to make that available for you right now. Files. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the core values sample. I think you've already downloaded that. And we're now going to look at books and resources, share file. Okay, so if you go to your files, now you're going to see books and resources. Some of you may already have this list. I don't know how many are on there, maybe 40 different books. It's a great place to go and find your next pick for Audible, right? We're driving in the car university, and we're listening and, on our cell phone hooked up to our Bluetooth. At least that's how I do it when I'm driving in this horrible Southern California traffic. I make my time count. So here's the top 10 list. The E-Myth Real Estate Brokerage by Michael Gerber. That's a must read. Understanding Michael Porter, Blue Ocean Strategy. We just talked about that. Peter Drucker, many of us know him as the father of business operations. So innovation and entrepreneurship is one of his books that I love. And then how many of us love the Shark Tank? Woohoo! Damon John, The Power of Broke. I have that book. Let me see if I can find it over here. Okay, I didn't see it really quickly, but I know it's over here in my bookshelf. I have so many great books over here. Why Startups Fail, for those of us looking to get funding, angel funding or venture funding for our business. We need to know what they're looking for. So that's a great book for that. John Maxwell, right? We love him. He's the leadership expert. We love reading his books. The 5 Levels of Leadership is one that I do recommend in starting out, and then, go on to his other leadership books. Changing the Culture in Your Company, Broker to Broker is a great one with little success tips from different brokers and things that they've done. And Anatomy of a Business Plan, which we're going to talk about next week. So that'd be a great one to get started with. Order it today on Amazon, and then by next week you'll have it, and you can use it when we start going through our business plan next week. Okay, so there's my top 10 books recommended. And so I already gave you the free gift, which is the books and resources. You can download those, take a look at those, and be sure to go to Amazon or wherever your favorite source is, and put a couple of those in your shopping cart. All right, so as we wind up today, our summary that we talked about today, there are 12 steps to build your empire. Today, we learned about step 1. You have some handouts. You have some action plans, activities you're going to be doing, and we'll join you again, circle back with you next week to see how everybody did. And today we learned about the Fortune 500 concepts without the MBA price tag. Isn't that awesome? Right? So we learned about some of those things that those big successful companies do that got them where they're at, that they do on a daily basis, which we don't often hear about in our real estate brokerage because many of us are small individual brokerages. But now we're learning these MBA concepts without the price tag. So I hope everybody enjoyed today. Do you have any questions? Okay, Paola, you have a question. Which book would you recommend we start with if we haven't read any of them? That would depend on where your business is. If you already have an existing business and you've never written a business plan, that's a good place to start because it will make you examine and think about every aspect of your business. If you haven't done anything yet, right, and you're maybe thinking, well, I'm going to start my real estate brokerage soon, maybe start with the E-Myth for real estate brokerages to give you sort of an overall concept. Now, if you do have a brokerage that you've been running for years, but it's not as financially successful as you want to be, on the list there, I have a book called Profit First, and I love that one. So check out the book Profit First. Okay, so those are a few to get started with. I would say in the book list that you were able to download, there are some categories. So you can sort of look through the categories, whether it's leadership or marketing or business plan or business operations, and see which one of them correspond to your current needs. And then within each group, I've put the most important books first, or the ones that I like first. Okay, so you can go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, so Shauna says, great job, Regina. Thank you. You're welcome, and thank you for joining us today. Henry, I stepped away for a moment. Did you cover info to have a brokerage in Florida? So, Henry, we didn't cover specifically information about any particular brokerage. It was very general about starting your brokerage, and you're welcome to listen to the replay. You'll be getting an email soon, which reminds me, I didn't share with you, but I actually have a quick checklist startup for real estate brokerages that goes through the top 20 things that you need to do. You can just check them off the list. So I'm going to see if I can share that with you right now. But Ingrid says, thank you, Regina. Very useful information. Bill says, I joined the session a little late. Can I download the previous PDFs? Yes, I think you can download them. If not, you can email me. So I'll give you my email address if you want to follow up. Regina at, I'll just give you my MBA Broker Consultants.com. Okay, so there's my email address. So, okay, and Donna says, thank you, Regina. Great info. Veronica, I don't know why you can't hear anything. I'm sorry. Hopefully it came out on the recording. Okay, let me go to and see if I have one more thing to download for you here. File sharing. Stop sharing. Create a new file. Upload. Okay, so let me look at the brokerage form. And okay, so I just shared something on there called the Brokerage Startup Checklist. And it's just a quick little checklist. If you didn't get it or whatever, just email me. I'll send it right out to you. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to step 1. Next week, we'll cover step 2, which is your business plan. And I also wanted to mention that we do have workshops we're forming for next year. We have a profitability workshop called Driving Profits to the Max, how real estate brokerages are revving up and pushing the needle. And that's for real estate brokerage owners and managers, as well as aspiring brokers. And then also we're going to be planning an innovation workshop with a blue ocean strategy I talked about. It's going to be called Be the Boss and Dominate Your Market. And of course, BOSS stands for Blue Ocean Strategy for Success. And again, this is real estate brokerages that innovate, differentiate, and capture unique market share with Blue Ocean Strategy. Okay. So also our company does do consultations for real estate brokerage owners, new brokerage owners who are just starting, or if you want to revamp or discover new markets, be innovative, we can help with that as well. If you have any questions, please contact me. I am available for consultations and presentations. Feel free to call, email. Email is probably the best way to reach me, or you can visit our website as well. And of course, you know, I'm on Facebook and all those social media sites. Awesome. That's what it's all about, is contributing, helping each other. And together, we're raising or elevating the standards in our real estate brokerage business because we're all helping, encouraging, and sharing with each other. Thank you, everybody. And that's all I have for today. So that is the end of step 1 of Start Your Own Brokerage. Thank you, everybody. I hope you continue having a wealthy, winning Wednesday. Bye, everybody. Talk to you soon.